Oh my God, where's Ryan? She's gone. Man, where's that girl?
I'm gone, girl. And guess what?
Yeah, you're doing the intro.
Hey, everyone. I'm Ryan.
I'm Alex.
And I'm the Gone Girl. This is Between Alex and Gone Girl. Today we're covering A Vegan
Between
Adult.
shelf and screen.
Today we're covering Between Shelf and Screen. And this is a mystery. Okay? Gotta find the co-host.
Where'd she go?
If you're gonna tell already by our awful introduction, we are going over Gone Girl in our review of the book. So
Yeah.
I know we're like 10 years too late, but that's fine.
Yeah, we completely missed the hype.
Yeah, and neither of us have seen the book ever, right? Sorry, seen the movie or read the book.
Yes.
I didn't even, to be fair, I worked in a bookstore, never even saw the book. It was almost like it was gone.
Girl.
God, we're so embarrassing.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. Yeah.
Can we restart?
No. We're in it.
I know.
We're in it. All right, let's talk
One
about
take.
it. So, what'd you think? Overall views.
Should we do rating?
Sure.
Kick it off. Without any explanation, I will give this a 4.5 out of 5.
That's pretty fair. Yeah, I was thinking like 4.2.
Okay. Out of 5.
It's not like it's not bringing up like very deep and like I guess stimulating themes like in any way. It's a fun book. So like there's nothing wrong with it at all.
Mm-hmm.
I actually really enjoyed it. But yeah, that's why
Just didn't itch your brain enough to...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it was awesome though. Like I really did love this book and I'm so glad I didn't have it spoiled for me.
Yeah. I was very pleasantly surprised considering I knew somewhat of how the twist was going down, because somehow that, I still don't know where. It's like just something that was in my brain from something I can't recall.
You probably saw the movie. Just a
No,
long
I
time
have
ago.
not seen the movie. Like, I mean, I guess we'll find out next week when I rewatch it.
Yeah.
But, like, I cannot recall a single other thing besides a twist. I feel like I've seen a clip.
Maybe, yeah.
But I was pleasantly surprised.
I could see how this book and movie was trending, though, because this seems like...
Yes.
Because this seems like the type of, like, fiction that is just, like, easy to appeal to masses. Because it's, like, it's not a tough read at all, which is, like, thank God, after the last one. After Emma.
Yeah.
It was a nice little...
The writing style is very easy to comprehend, but it's not giving you everything. Like, there's still enough to analyze and deduce, but not where it's, like, the story's reliant on it.
Yeah.
Like, it pieces it together very well. Right.
And it's also... It's a really pretty writing style, too, at times.
It really is.
Like,
And
she has the ability to have really good prose.
yes, exactly. And she hit a bunch of spots that, like, really honed in it with her words, which was nice to see. Like, some of it would catch me off guard, and I'd be like, wow, I was not expecting that from this author. But it's not too crazy throughout the whole book. It's just certain moments, I feel like. But she really is overall a good writer. Like, I was very much involved in the story from the beginning. Like, I was excited to read this, even though, like, I've kind of not been lately. Like, I haven't had time, and so I just haven't been looking for... I don't want to say looking forward to, but it's just been harder for me to find a book to like, because I'm a lot more critical because my time's being like the little time that I have is being used towards this.
Yeah,
So I want something I'm really gonna enjoy.
For the context of this, we're in the peak of our semester right now, and although like both of us individually have different majors, but our classes are challenging.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of work. So.
And we work.
Yeah, and we work like. It's. I didn't read this in the amount of time that I wanted to. Like I could have plowed through this probably in like 3 or 4 days, but it took me over like 6. Because I was just busy as hell. And, like, you know,
Yeah.
I didn't have an audiobook, so I couldn't just, like, listen to it on a commute or anything, so.
That's the only thing that's been keeping me through it. Like,
yeah.
I genuinely don't have time to sit down and read, which it's getting better. Like, I think for this next one I'll be able to, but I feel like the last few books I've just listened to. But this audiobook or on Audible, it's 20 hours. It does not need
Insane.
to be.
Yeah,
I
no.
listened to it at 1.7 speed throughout the whole thing and couldn't even tell that it was sped up.
Yeah.
Like,
because it's only 417 pages. Like, that's a lot of pages, but that's not 20 hours worth of reading.
Yeah. The voice acting was good, but when I turned it down to 1, it was like they were literally sounding out syllable to syllable.
Yeah.
I was I have not seen that before, but I just listened to it at 1.7. It was perfectly fine. So it's only realistically, and that's not even like I've listened to things at a faster speed, but like you can tell this I genuinely couldn't tell that it was sped up because it was just like normal. So it's really not that long of a book, even though it seems like that on Audible, at least.
Right.
And it's so... I think the part that really gets you is you want to know what's going on, which, that's what a thriller, a suspenseful mystery is supposed to do, but she hits it.
Yeah.
Like,
she hits a good balance between plot and character. Like, the characters are awesome, and the plot is just really well executed. Like, just those two intertwining together made, like, a really fun, immersive experience, I feel like.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like a lot of times with mysteries, you get certain tropes, and there were for sure some in this, but she acknowledged it and did it in her own way, where it wasn't like, oh, of course. Like, it was almost a little satirical, like she called it out, but all around, like, I feel like you wouldn't see the twist coming in the way that it does. Like, some people might have been able to tell, and obviously I'm not going to go into that yet until we go into spoilers, but like you didn't know exactly where it was heading, right? It was such a good, especially for the time that this book was released, so inventive. Like,
yeah, because there's so many murder mysteries where there's a twist, and you're just like, ugh. Like, it's so hard to create something new out of that. But she did it in a way where I was like, not only was the twist good, but it was, like, satisfying.
Yeah, and I feel like even for people out there that didn't like this book, because I heard very bad things about this book and very good things, or really didn't feel like any in between, I feel like you can at least admit that this led to a change in the kind of murder mystery, writing styles and just books being released. Like, this, I feel like, inspired a lot to come from this.
Yeah.
Which is impressive.
I haven't seen a bad review of it, but if I had to guess, maybe it's just like a critique of the genre as a whole.
Maybe.
Or it's just like very like plot driven, and it's just like, who's the killer or not killer, or
I think
what's going on, like.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I feel like an issue that this genre faces is the convenience of things happening. It's like, oh, of course that would be the case. And there's parts of this where it seems a little unrealistic.
Yeah.
Which we'll get into in more specifics. But overall, it wasn't anything that made me step back and be like, seriously, that's how you're going to forward the plot?
Yeah.
Like, I can tell that the author spent time really planning it out or reworking it to make sure that it worked from the very beginning.
Absolutely. And like I love that she planted seeds early on. It paid off.
Mm-hmm.
It was really nice. Yeah, it was just overall like I even told you while we were reading this. I'm like, it's just not my genre really.
I know.
And I used to love this sort of thing a lot. Like not even necessarily reading it, but like just like watching like murder mysteries. I loved like criminal sort of like I guess dramas and stuff. So like I did love this genre, but it just again got worn out. And but this was refreshing, and I actually I really did enjoy this book.
Yeah, and I guess I do want to talk about like how you felt about the characters from the beginning, because we're not going to go into spoilers. So like, what's your opinions? And I guess we could say like overall how well they were in the story.
Yeah, I mean, well, the two main ones, Amy and Nick. I mean, very complex, very believable, realistic, just well written.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, like just like I said earlier, like I just love that this book was heavily plot driven, but did not lack on the character at all. Like it really did combine the two very well. And you get to like other than Amy and Nick, you don't really get too involved in all the other characters.
Yeah,
but like
I think that's fair.
But like you get involved enough.
Yeah, I think Nick was very complex, very believable, especially when you learn more and more about his background. Like you can understand why he reacts to things the way he does, and I think Amy the same. It just, and you kind of get this from the beginning. My only kind of critique was like she is kind of cartoonish.
Yeah, at the beginning. Yeah, and
like
it's that way for a reason.
Yeah. Which I would even say in the end too, it's a little bit overboard. And I could kind of see if people were upset about her character. But
First half, she was given like an impression of like millennial house mom.
Yeah.
She's just cute, quirky.
I'm not like other girls.
I'm not like other girls.
I think she literally like says something.
Yeah, no, she says multiple things like that a lot.
So I could understand people not liking her character, but it's intentional at the same time. It didn't personally bother me, but I could understand it bothering
and like
others.
even though the first half of my book was not the favorite, like definitely the second half I prefer. Even though that is true, like it still had me, like I was still interested, and the writing style is easy enough to follow that you're not like lost in the sauce as if you're reading Emma or like The Road.
Yeah, you're gonna.
That's actually, you know what, I feel like I'm gonna want to be kinder about The Road now because I was never confused as to what was happening ever. But
because nothing happened.
Well, in The Road, yeah. Well, the descriptions, the environment, like what they were doing, like you always knew. But with Emma, the monologues would just go on and on and like.
Well, The Road was about the road. We knew that. And that's all that they did. And Emma was about Emma. And that's all that they talked about. I think they did I think they held up to actually what was to be expected of them. A.k.a. what we expect from the titles. And I think they're actually perfect. So I changed my ratings. And this was actually worse because Gone Girl? Seriously?
Oh, she's gone.
Oh.
Title has a double meaning.
And that's one too many. I think they should stick to one thing happening in the story, like Emma and The Road.
Yeah.
And that's it. No, I mean, I feel like you've expressed multiple times that you like more scenery and prose and stuff about that, which I will say The Road did a
yeah, you were never confused as to what the environment looked like.
Yeah, and he did a somewhat good job about it, but
that's so important to me when I'm reading. Like I have to know where they're at, what they're doing.
Yeah.
you know.
But Emma didn't really do that.
At all.
But I think Emma was overall better than The Road.
Oof.
So many reasons.
No, disagree.
But
Wholeheartedly.
I think it was. What's another reason? The
Another
characters
reason?
in The Road were so much more flat.
They were, yeah. But, like, interesting things were happening.
What was interesting that happened in The Road? We didn't even know what the apocalypse was.
Okay, well, yeah, we didn't know that. But there was multiple times where they have run-ins with, like, other people. Like, there's gunfights. And then they run into, like, a cannibal group.
Mm-hmm.
And then they run into, like, some random, like, metal, like, what were they even doing? It was like a caravan of people that were slaves. Like, the stakes were high. And, like, you could be somewhat invested just for that reason.
I disagree. I don't know. I enjoyed Emma way more than The Road.
No, it was only 200 something pages of pain, too.
But
Emma-
it took me a month to read The Road.
I'm surprised I got through Emma in the time that I did. That was like probably my slowest read of the year. And I read 11/22/63, 800 pages worth. I read all that in like a week. Emma took me like 3 weeks.
The Road took me literally a month.
I know, yeah. Yeah, and I don't blame you for it. Like, I'm not saying The Road's a good book.
I
and
know.
We're also like getting way
We're
off
so
topic.
off topic.
Let's talk more about Gone Girl. But,
Yeah. I think the characters overall, a lot of them I genuinely didn't like though. Like,
Yeah.
which that isn't really a spoiler because that's mostly just my opinion too. Like, I was pretty
Yeah.
harsh on these characters.
Well, yeah, they're not supposed to be likable though.
That's
so
true.
that's like one of those critiques too, where I'm like, I kind of agree. And I do like a story where you can at least have one character that's redeemable and then root for them a little bit. That makes the story a little bit nicer to go through. But again, I can't really make an objective critique
Yeah.
of doing
And
that.
the side characters, I mean,
Yeah,
I want to talk about the sister. The sister felt like she was just playing the part of a sister. Like, I feel like that really didn't change that much. There are very few scenes where I was like, okay, I guess this is kind of important. But, like, I think the book would have been the exact same without her. Like, but I also feel like I just have a very personal, like, I don't even know how to describe it. Just, I didn't like her, and I can't really pin it
She
to an
wasn't-
exact thing.
Yeah, I mean, she definitely
She was
fell
just
into a bit of a caricature.
yeah.
Where she was just like the alpha woman who curses and is crass. She's one of the dudes, you know.
I think I didn't
I think
like.
that's kind of what the trope was with her.
And I don't think. Really, actually, I don't think I liked her because Nick liked her, and that made me upset.
Right, yeah.
And I think that's really mostly it.
Yeah. Nick is
But-
upsetting. And, well, you know, you want to get into spoilers now?
Yeah, I think now is time. To
Yeah,
go
and
spoilers.
Amy is very upsetting as well. Like, because you spend that first half of the book, the author, Gillian Flynn, is so smart in the way she set it up because she makes you root for Amy that whole time and then piles on these reasons to hate Nick. And at the
And understandable
middle-
reasons. They still are
yeah.
reasonable.
But then she flips it, and then she's like, Amy is an evil genius sociopath who loves to dole out her versions of justice. It's like she's not the person she's pretending to be. And like, that was actually such a welcome twist because I was just like getting tired of like, is Nick the murderer? Oh, he might be,
Yeah.
but probably not. But is
I don't
he?
think they could have went the whole book and waited until the end to give that twist. Like, I feel like they had to. And actually on Audible, they had like at the very end had some of like the drafts of who both Nick and mostly Amy, who they were supposed to be, like in one of her first like copies of it. And she
I wish I got that version.
No, sucks just suck. Just also get an Audible.
Right.
Actually, we'll listen after this. It's only like 30 minutes to be fair. But when you speed it up at 1.7 speed. But no, that actually the author read it too, and she talked a little bit about it, and she said that originally she wasn't gonna have Amy speak at all. Like, it was only gonna be told through Nick's perspective, which I'm glad she added Amy. And she said, like, I was not doing Amy justice by like telling it all through his eyes, because like you really weren't getting
Yeah,
it.
that would have been very flat.
Yeah, I don't think this book would have been good without Amy. Getting to that, I kind of forgot the point I was going to make after that, but I'll just make something up instead to fill the time.
No, I mean, we're talking about those extra chapters from the author.
Yeah, and that's all that I want to mention, like that originally Emma, oh my god, Amy wasn't going to be in the book, but I'm glad she added her, but it was like a lot at the same time. Like, it definitely I could see it putting people off of like, oh, of course you planned everything out, because it overall is unrealistic, because that's just not how most criminals are.
Yeah, and like to have a genius sociopath lay all these traps.
Right.
But then again, she she definitely does have like chinks in her armor, like.
Yeah.
Because
100%.
When Nick was on TV and he was like saying like, "Oh, come back, Amy," like you definitely saw her weakness in the fact that she was willing to go back for Nick, and Nick knew it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I will say she did have her flaws. She did have issues, and like reasonable issues caused by like past traumas and stuff. And it made sense. It just, it wouldn't play out in real life, but like people that judge a book solely on realism, like I want to put it out that it's not the most realistic, but that doesn't mean that it's not a good book and she's not a good character. Like, it's fun to see the mind games.
Yeah, it's not even strictly unrealistic.
Right. It's not the worst, but I know some people will like
apart,
yeah, and it's just I get it. I do prefer books that are more realistic because I feel like I connect to the characters more, but that's also not what everyone wants. What did you want to get into? Probably not anything about the book.
Pretty cool themes, honestly.
I would agree too. What was some of your favorite?
Maybe like I really liked like the commentary on media, where they're just like frenzied. Like, they don't really care about the truth, so to speak. They just want coverage over, like, they want to sensationalize an issue rather than like actually sitting down and like sorting out the facts and like actually interviewing, like real journalism. Nobody wanted to actually do that. They just wanted to pick sides and then be like,
everyone,
I hate him.
Yeah, everyone wanted a solution.
Yeah.
Like that.
Quick, easy. Which is very, that's very American.
Yeah. And the police department. Like, I feel like this wasn't the worst time police have been portrayed, or like in a bad way, because there's some books that I've read where like they just have the police department be like, nope, it's them, and then
and then they don't want to hear anything else,
right, which they were a little more forgiving in the beginning, like which was nice to not just, because of course they're thinking that it's the husband,
but they're taking it easy,
and even
lightly. Oh
my gosh, at the very beginning, what peeved me so much is when he's just like straight up lying to the police. I'm like, he's genuinely so dumb, but it makes sense. It's not just like she's writing this character and then having him lie to then progress the story. It's like him as a character makes sense to lie because he's, first of all, just so dumb for so many reasons, but also does want to be this perfect, like be this perfect man.
Yeah, portrayed in a certain way.
Yeah, like the picture perfect couple, basically. Which is just wild to me. The Lie to the Police.
Yeah, no, you just like, especially in a high profile case like this, like you don't want, even if you have to air out dirty laundry, like you want to exonerate yourself, so you just have to like get it out, bro.
But I feel like it's not common. Like, I don't know. But
He should have. Well, when I was like at the beginning, he probably could have just told the police about his affair, and then as the media came in later, it had a smaller chance of getting leaked.
yeah, I would agree with that.
Because he would have just like they would have like backed away from looking at him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just feel like people are genuinely dumb in real life.
Oh yeah, definitely. And he was ill prepared for this in every single way, like because obviously he was blindsided because his wife's an evil genius. And
I don't think he cared. Like honestly,
cared.
Yeah,
when she disappeared.
Yeah, like what did you think about it?
He seemed too aloof, but it. But at the same time, you could tell he was like shocked.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit of both. I think that was a nice balance because you could tell he definitely cared and he was like trying, but he was also just like shocked. He's like, what?
Yeah.
Like he's just like unable to accept the reality.
Right. She does such a good job of mixing it. So then it's also leaving the readers, even though we're reading it from Nick's point of view, we're still like, did he like do it though?
Yeah.
And it's so interesting to read the book through that. Because even I knew the twist and I was like, maybe it's like I have it all wrong. And he did have something to do with this or something. Because she's so good at writing it so...
manipulating the narrative.
Yeah.
She's very skilled at that. The CIA should hire her, bro.
Yeah.
What'd you think about the whole time with Amy in the cabin?
Amy in the cabin, like...
In the cabin with that girl and that guy? Mm-hmm. The guy who sells catfish.
That... I was a little... honestly confused what was going on there. Like, I was kind of confused, and that was another weakness where she wanted attention from these people.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah,
even though she's literally trying to hide out.
Yeah, she was even looking at that guy as, like, a possible partner. Which was just, like, she got so duped. I think that was meant to show how she's so privileged, and she only, like... She thinks she's the only one manipulating. Mm-hmm. And she's... like, she just didn't expect people to be just as bad, if not worse than her.
Right. And I'm surprised... I'm genuinely surprised that didn't come back. I thought she was going to get caught. Because
I thought it would have more of a purpose. I think that
she was so focused on if they actually recognized her that, like... We knew in that moment that's not what they were thinking. Like, we could tell there was something more going on, but still, like, I felt like it was going to be like, well, she did know that they were looking at her in a different way that might have still, like, subconsciously they were like, she does look familiar though. And then by the time she was on the camera, she also, like, still had this somewhat dyed hair and the awful haircut and all that. Like, if they were watching the news when she went missing, so, like, wouldn't they not be like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Because it was only, a month after she went missing?
Yeah.
So, like, she didn't look that much different from when she met those people.
Right.
I'm just surprised that never came back up.
Yeah.
And she even mentioned it.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought that was going to have a little bit more meaning towards the narrative. I think the only reason that happened was to just get to Desi's.
Yeah, because I thought she would have been there for longer.
Yeah, and oh my god, the whole thing with Desi, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, I want to talk about that because...
Because, like, she's so good at making this situation just, like, Amy's still in control. but like she doesn't like that Desi's manipulating her ever so slightly. Mm-hmm. So then rather than like just like setting him up and leaving him be, she just kills him. I was like, that shocked me.
That surprised me too. I did not expect that.
And in a way, like, you know, like I almost kind of felt bad for Desi because like obviously he's not the best guy, but she has been pulling the strings on him for how many years? Just so she could like cash in one day.
Well, I think she manipulated him in the beginning, but it was partially just a him thing to be so obsessed with her. Like, he would have done this with any girl.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't just because she manipulated him into this. It just was more ingrained into his mind. And it also didn't help that she was a public figure. Yeah. Like, the whole aspect of it being a book, or like her life kind of being, or a book based off of her life. Like, she ran into issues because of that, understandably so, which didn't help who she was as a character. Yeah. You'll see, or you know if you read the book. But, like, I think that just was a minor effect. Like, it was just who he was as a person, and that's who he picked out. It's like the same kind of person, I feel like she based him off of the stalkers that then later end up killing their, like, love interest, you know?
I mean, what I got out of what she was trying to portray with this guy was he just wanted, like, a trophy wife. So he wanted to be, like...
But it was the more guy than that.
With all, like, the wealthy stuff and whatnot. Like, he just had, like, this luxurious lifestyle, and he just wanted, like, a woman to, like, just live in the box that he put in her. Put for her.
I mean, I guess so.
That's
because,
just what I got.
Like I said, he would have done this with any woman, but I think because it was someone from his childhood, because, like, we knew high school, they dated, and he, like, just thought of Amy as the still high school girl. Yeah. And did things based off of this image that he had of her, which I feel like kind of like alludes to the typical stalker feeling like they have this relationship with someone that's not even the same person as who they're imagining. Mm-hmm.
Definitely, he was giving off creepy vibes, and he was very controlling, like, you know. Yeah. He's she even commented, Amy, she was like, oh, like the threats disguised as compliments.
Mm-hmm. Which I thought the author did such a good job portraying that, because it genuinely felt like believable, and that this guy could be doing it, and I don't want to say not necessarily know that he's doing it, but it to seem like it's just normal for him, like for him it would be normal to talk to people like the way that he does. It's not like it was so obvious manipulation. Yeah. Which I think is such an easy cop out, to have him just be like, no, you don't need money. Like, it's fine. Like, he still gave her money he deemed necessary. I don't know. I thought he was a really good character for playing the part that he had.
Yeah, a little role that he had.
Yeah.
I don't know. The part of the beginning when she described him, though, where he's just like, oh, like, which was kind of gross in its own way, but it kind of shed him in a light of sympathy, where he wants to take, like, girls that are, like, not doing so well, and he wants to, like, bring them up, and that is kind of redeemable, but he wants to do it all for his own purposes. Yeah. Which is, like, later on you're like, oh, but I don't think he deserved to die.
No, of course not. Like, he needed help to get away from.
Yeah, like, and Amy was just pulling his strings the whole time. That's why I was like, that's why I kind of felt bad. I was like, oh man, he just got totally used.
Yeah, no, he did not deserve to die. Like,
it was messed up.
That was not what I expected.
And destroyed his image completely too. That was another thing. And the poor mom, like, oh my god, the way they kept describing, or she kept describing the mom was so gross. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
They're like, oh, she always had. This is a quote from the book. They said, oh, she always had a slight scent of vagina. Like that's how.
She did
like,
say that.
had Amy say it and Nick. And I was like, that's so gross. That's such a
I didn't realize
gross
Nick said it
description.
too.
Yeah. Yeah, it was when he was like
Oh.
grilling Desi at first.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, like
Ugh.
they both said it. I was like,
I
oh
thought
my God,
Amy did,
ew.
but I just like, or I knew Amy did, but I just feel of like, okay, she sucks. She hated that woman.
Yeah.
Like,
No, yeah, Nick said it when he was like grilling Desi, and he's just like, oh, she kind of smells like.
oh, I think I
Yeah,
do. That was at the
yeah.
beginning.
Yeah. I was
Ugh.
like, what a weird description.
And I think I blew that off because Nick just sucked
Yeah,
so
I know.
much.
Me
And I was
too.
like,
Me too. I blew it off too. But then Amy said it. I was just like, oh, what is
Yeah.
this girl? Like, clean yourself.
that's so weird.
It's so gross.
I feel like for Nick, he just hated women.
No, he did. Yeah.
Oh my god, he was such a womanizer. Like,
He
he
was.
sucked so much. And then the part where he was like,
They-
no, it's okay because I only hate one woman. And I'm
Yeah.
like, no, he doesn't. He judges every single woman. And he gets that from his dad.
Yeah, both these characters, Nick and Amy, have pretty privilege to the max. Like, that is... I think she also... Maybe that was a theme. I couldn't tell. But they all had pretty privilege in a lot of scenarios. That they
Oh,
used.
yeah. And rich privilege. Like, they
Oh,
were
yeah.
in New York, writers for magazines, which, like, that was at the time.
That was, yeah, that's how
Mhm.
people who wanted to be writers, aspiring writers, made their money. And a
Yeah.
good bit.
So they definitely had a lot of privilege. Amy hated women too, honestly.
Yeah, no.
Amy hated everyone.
Yeah, she hated everyone that didn't
But I think,
support her. But even the ones that support her, she like belittled. like
yeah.
like that one girl,
100%.
Noelle, was it? her
Oh, I
name?
don't remember her name.
The
Oh,
pregnant-
yeah.
was it
I
Noelle?
think it was no.
Anyways, the pregnant woman that was her friend.
Oh, yeah. She.
Like, she was so nice to Amy, and like Amy just absolutely shat on her, like all the time. It's like, oh,
Amy-
stupid little Illinois housewife. I was like, dang, Amy, it's mean, bro.
Yeah,
It's
no.
literally like one of the people that actually supported you, and you're like,
She viewed herself so enlightened
mm,
by this.
right.
In that, like, she didn't need a man, but she also craved male.
Oh yeah, she does.
Yeah.
A lot, and like,
And I feel like the first example of her, or one example that was pretty noticeable of her, like, as what Nick said, is that she does not have a BS.
oh yeah, BS detector.
Yeah, and which is why she kind of fell for, like, he was playing her at that point
Yeah.
with his words. And I think the same thing happened with Des, because, like, she kind of mentioned how it's not great that they're going to his house because he has more control and she doesn't like that. But, like, it was somewhat, I think, more clear to the audience that this was not going to go as expected.
Yeah, or the way Des wanted it.
Well, no, in the way that she wanted it. Like, you could kind of tell that, or, like, he was doing
When
it
he's
to
pulling
keep
the
her
levers,
there.
Yeah.
And
She even used that
just,
description where he's like, he put you in a box, and if you didn't conform, he'd pull the levers and get you in trouble.
yeah. And so she, like, kind of acknowledged it, but at the same time, she just went with him because she, like, was like, it can't be that bad. Like, I believe
Yeah.
him. And so, like, that was a good demonstration to also, like, wind up to her then believing Nick. And overall, just kind of wanting this attention from these guys.
Well,
And
she had such a warped view of Nick because, like, she hated
That
him,
too.
and then, but like, still
Well, it was a
expected
game.
she expected a happy ending to come from it.
I think what helped is she realized he isn't that dumb when it comes to certain aspects of her. Like, he did
Yeah.
genuinely understand how she worked, and that surprised her, and that made her hate him less because she was like, you know what, he's not that bad because he's on par with me. Like, she
Yeah.
viewed everyone else lower because they couldn't play these games. Like,
Right.
Des, could not play the game. Like, just
Right.
obviously it did not end well for him.
So at the beginning, when it was talking about like, it was in Amy's diary when he was like, "Oh, yeah, he shoved me and I hit my head." Did that actually happen?
Yeah.
So it did happen. So
Yeah,
he
he
did
never-
hit Amy.
Yeah, he knew about it and never once, like, his narrative never once denied it. And, like, she said at the very end when she was talking to police, like, when they were talking about the diary and she was trying to, like, excuse some of the things, she said, like, oh no, the push has happened. I just think getting a gun was me just, like, being over.
Dramatic,
Yeah. And the police came back and even said that, and he just never denied it. So I don't know, but he never acknowledged it at the same time.
Like that was a thing that kind of confused me, because it was like it said, like, Amy said it in the diary that it happened, but then, like,
Everything else was a lie.
yeah, and he never mentioned it, but then everything else was a lie. So, like, was that just a part of her narrative?
No,
was,
I
like-
I think that
I think it actually happened. I'm leaning
Yeah.
more towards that.
I think it happened because Nick called out everything else. Like, he said the
Yeah.
poisoning didn't happen. And they mentioned the abuse, and he just was like, God, this is crazy. I can't believe they found the diary. Never once said, and she's lying about, like, I've never laid a finger on her. Like, he never said anything like
That's
that.
true.
So,
Yeah, so he probably did that.
I think so.
The fact that like, I love that Amy's character had the patience to just sit through him acting like this and be like the woman that, like, she was pretending to be,
Right.
and then, like, slowly lay out traps.
Oh
Like,
my
that
gosh, she had
was,
the
like,
time.
Yeah, like, that's commitment. Like, you gotta.
I
respect
loved
that.
the throwback to how many times she would mention how he sleeps through everything
Yeah.
and sleeps like a rock, and she was up all night.
Oh yeah,
She was
framing him.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so that was funny. There's no way with a TV. Like, how did she get a TV?
That's wild.
Yeah, I don't.
That's wild. Yeah, that was far fetched, but.
Yeah, but oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's like, it almost makes you like after you figure out that, like, Amy was acting this whole time, it wasn't actually this, like, perfect wife that she was portraying herself to be. It almost makes you, like, hate Nick a little bit more, because, like, he, like, wasn't acting at all, and, like, Amy was being this perfect wife, and he was still hating it and being the way he was. Like,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I think she wasn't I think she genuinely was
Yeah.
fed up all the time with him, which
the-
does
like,
add
when
stress.
when they interacted, it was like her actually being, like, this person she was pretending to be.
Well, I think when they actually got married, she got fed up with it because she realized, like, I'm not getting as much attention from him. Like, he's still doing these things. I think she even said, like, he thought that he was genuinely marrying, like, this girl, like, what he didn't expect me to change, because she started to, like, develop part of her own personality, and immediately, like, turned him off, I guess, of her, and, like,
Yeah, but it was at no point was it ever, like, sociopathic. Like, it was always, like, the bearable version of herself that she projected out. Like, it was the likable version, is what
Yeah.
I'm getting at. And, like,
Right.
it almost makes you hate Nick a little bit more, because, like, she was purposely trying to be, like,
right.
this person, like, the perfect wife, and he was just, like, I don't even, like, I didn't even really understand his hatred. Like, I understood that, like, he resented her for the money and all that stuff, and just, like, resented her for.
Well, he resented her because he hated his own life.
Yeah.
I think that partially plays a
Well,
fact.
yeah,
like,
she always thought he looked at her as, like, just this privileged girl who never had to work for anything, and life just worked out for her, where he had to fight for it.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, like, you know, when she saw his faults and everything, that made him even more insecure.
Yeah.
But, like, my point was, like, man, it just makes you hate him more, because it's just like, dude, like, what are you even?
You're
like,
fumbling the bag, bro.
Like, you're fumbling. So, like, she's literally gave you all her trust fund to move to your hometown to start up a
and
bar.
he's still like.
And you're still gonna just hate her?
Oh yeah,
what?
no, he sucked. He was looking for any excuse out because he was embarrassed of himself and he didn't want to admit that.
Yeah.
No, he sucked so much.
Yeah, like, but then like I don't know. Yeah, it's such a good balance of like, because at the end, like I didn't want him to get prosecuted. I wanted to come back and I would be like, I want to see what happens here.
Yeah. Yeah,
so it
same.
made me, I was like rooting for Nick a little bit at the end because I'm just like, let's get her back. You know, let's see how this unfolds.
I feel like by the end, no matter how, like I hated Nick so much. I still do. But by the end, I was like, I don't want to see him go to jail.
Yeah.
Though. Like, I can admit he doesn't deserve that because he didn't do it. But at the same time, if that's how it ended, I wouldn't have hated it. No, I don't know.
Honestly, yeah.
I was somewhat rooting for him at the end, but only for that one thing.
Yeah, no, I was like, I want to see
everything else could have went wrong in his life.
What the hell happens with Amy, and if she's able to manipulate her way through it, and she was,
right,
which was like, kind of a perfect ending, honestly.
No, I agree.
I think it was.
I want to get into that, but I want to jump back just for 1 second because I think I remember Nick literally commenting on how Amy looked when she was on the ground hugging her stomach. Because, like, when he found out she was pregnant, he then, like, had a flashback to... It would allude to the moment that he pushed her because it was, like, she was on the ground, scared, and, like, had a hand over her stomach. So, like, I feel like he did do it. Yeah. Like, I think that was the confirmation somewhat.
I just remember never getting confirmation on that.
Yeah,
it was just like it kind of peeved me a little bit. But you don't really need it because...
Yeah.
You know, it seems like something he'd do.
Yeah. He never denied it, so that means he's thought about it. And we already know that. He's thought about a lot of worse things.
Yeah, killing her on multiple occasions, especially
before
after he
even
figures out
this.
that he's being framed.
But, like, he even did it before.
Oh, that's right, he did, yeah.
Yeah, so... she knew him a little too well. She's like, everyone will believe this because... He might even believe it. Honestly, he's that dumb.
He's like, did I black out and just do it?
I'm surprised he didn't consider that because he's...
Honestly, that's probably like if I was in his position, I'd be like, did I just do it? Do I just not remember? Did I just black out? I would have been like so tripped up.
And then also cleaned it up.
I'd be like, Amy would never. Amy would never frame me. I was like, I must have just done this.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I do want to talk about the end, though. How did that make you feel?
I loved it. I loved the end because, like, I even said ironically when we were talking about this, I was like, oh man, it'd be so funny if they got together at the end. And then I was just like, yeah, that would completely ruin the book. But they did get back together, and it made total sense because they're not happy in any way. They're just like, Amy's holding him hostage and she is trying to mold him into this fictional view of Nick.
It's kind of the reflection of these other women that she was judging in her diary because she was playing the perfect man's woman and now she's playing like the woman that she wanted to be. Which was really what she described as being like the worst relationship ever where the woman like has him on a leash and all of this and is like training him to say the right things and then that's what she's doing. Like the part where she's like, I didn't like his attitude towards this, or he responded in what was the
it was the very end. I love that ending line. She goes he goes, I feel bad, and then she goes, he goes, I feel bad, and she goes, oh, why? Because I framed you, ha ha ha, or something like that. He goes, no, I just feel bad because you have to be you. And then she goes, I didn't like the way he said that. He's not going to get the last word here. And then it ends. I was like, that's perfect ending.
Yeah, because she's still like so sassy.
Yeah, so sassy, so delusional as to what she thinks Nick is going to become.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, which is honestly impressive. And like I'm glad it didn't really have a conclusion. Like, we still
Yeah.
don't know if she's gonna get caught.
I don't think she will.
Really.
Mm-mm. Well, I mean, think about it. Like, think about this kid. Like, if we're thinking about it,
Right.
like
He's
lens.
probably not gonna do anything.
Yeah, like so he's gonna like be publicly shamed because he's gonna file for divorce and then claim that she framed him, and the trial will go so public and he would just look like the worst person ever. And but then she has all this other evidence on top of him.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, and you're doing this to your pregnant wife. Like he would have just lost. Like there's no way she would have gone.
Right. But I'm like thinking, because like his sister and the detective could still be working on this
Right.
outside of them, but it is hard with a kid involved, and I feel like that's. But then,
Yeah,
do you think?
I understood. I honestly kind of understood Nick's reasoning for like staying with her because of the kid. Because he's like, I don't want to be in a situation where I have to like speak to my kid
Right.
with like a, what's it called? One of those.
Yeah,
With,
The
like
people-
the people. that,
service workers.
Yeah, I totally understood that. I was like, yeah, he would never have a
Yeah, he
good
would
relationship
not.
with his kid if he did that. That
But-
made a lot of sense.
Also, like, she's very dangerous.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's. I mean, I guess he also wouldn't want to leave because she's still gonna have the kid. Either. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, he
Maybe
wanted.
she wouldn't have, but
I think the interesting part was just like, oh, like Amy was always complaining. She's like, oh, he doesn't want to have a kid. He doesn't have a kid. And then Nick was like, I want a kid. And then he finally got it at the end. But it was just like worst case scenario for him.
right.
But then like that just shows what she's willing to go to.
Yeah. Do you think he's gonna become like his dad?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
I think he's going to build up resentment.
Well, it's like I think I've talked to you about this before. Like many people who have like, you know, I won't talk about this. I'll talk about it afterwards.
I feel like you can't grow as a person in an environment that he is in. No matter, like, even if he went to therapy every week, like, I still don't think he could get better because he is not going to be feel safe at any point. And then now
Yeah.
involving a kid in that, now he has to worry about the safety of his kid. Like, he is going to hate her for so many reasons, and it's never going to be, like, healthy for a child to grow up in.
No, yeah,
And
poor
he's
kid's gonna be
and he
basically
even
Nick 2.0.
yeah, and he even basically admitted that if, like, when she started saying how he can't even be in a normal relationship after this point, he was like, yeah, I would think of women as, like,
Boring.
yeah,
Compared to
boring, dumb, everything that his dad described women as,
Yeah.
basically. And it was an interesting it was actually probably my favorite edition because, I don't know, that theme itself, like generational trauma and just the buildup of turning into such a terrible figure
Yeah.
is so interesting. I don't know. I think that's not a
Oh,
great
yeah.
thing, but like I love books that include something like as real as, because like that's one of the most vulnerable
Yeah.
things I feel like to grow up in.
Yeah.
and,
I feel like many times in my life, when I see somebody who's like struggling, or a lot of times like resents a certain person who raised them, they're like, oh, I hate that person. I never want to be like them. It's often because they're very similar.
yes, 100%.
And I love that. I love that theme in there because like I've seen that so many times in my life where it's like this person's just like these two people butt heads, whether it's a family or what have you, but they butt heads so much because they're so similar and they resent each other for that.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like she did such a good job not just making it where like he switches on and off. Like he always had this resentment, but he found a way to at least mask it to the public, which is just being this perfect man. And the second that didn't work out for him, it was like the end of the world. And then that's when it would revert to these things that he grew up seeing from his father. And like it all made sense. It wasn't like he was immediately like acting like his father. Like, it was genuine resentment, which I feel like is not easy for authors to write. Or I haven't seen a lot of books that do that well.
Oh yeah, and yeah, exactly. Like that's like there's so many cool themes in here that aren't like very. They don't make you think that hard, but like it's very relevant, at least to like what I've seen in my life.
Yeah, and it's
Very
put together well.
Yeah.
Like, they go together well, and I think that's what really is, because it's not even like the first time that, like, I feel like a lot of these themes, this isn't the first time it's been talked about.
Yeah.
But she does it so well in mixing them.
Yeah.
Especially with the different kind of backgrounds of both Amy and Nick.
Yeah.
So.
I really liked it.
Yeah.
That's my review. I think this book was good.
Good Gone Girl.
Yes.
Good Girl Gone. Gone
Get
Good
gone,
Girl.
Get gone.
Okay, I think that's my cue to leave. So I'll just say that I recommend this book.
Yeah.
And
I had
next
fun
week
reading
is
it too.
the movie.
Yes, and we got to figure out what we're going to read next.
I'm not reading anything.
Yeah, we're done with this.
Only
podcast.
movies.
Only movies.
Okay. Get gone.